Boi Whats is a YouTube creator that makes silly SpongeBob AI songs. He uses a voice modulator to modulate his voice to sound like various SpongeBob characters, such as SpongeBob, or Patrick, or Mr. Krabs. His videos contain AI-generated videos, and altogether, it's a pretty funny idea that, you can just do and to have a good time. Except that you see there's actually an overarching story connected between all of the different songs that starts off as a sad breakup story between SpongeBob and a person we'll get to, all the way to the entirety of Bikini Bottom being enslaved by Plankton to, well, I think you just need to watch it to find out. After all, it all starts with the first song that he made, discounting the other one, which is a Squidward song that I am not going to count because it means nothing to me and it can go die in a hole. But the first song that was released and that we'll be talking about is called Just a Pineapple. Just a Pineapple is a breakup song with the two people involved seeming to be SpongeBob and Sandy Cheeks. SpongeBob is the one who sings it, by the way, and this immediately gives us the background that not only did they once date, but they had recently broke up. It starts with the narrator saying,
"One studio session later,"
which in this series of music is usually a cue that this is being either played for people, or at least it's like a song that people can go back to and listen to in this world and in this story. And it might not seem like a big deal right now, but that is very important later on when we get to some other songs. Either way, in the song, SpongeBob describes his process through his breakup, trying to drown his sorrows in jellyfishing and hanging around the Goo Lagoon. SpongeBob makes several remarks during the song that allude to Sandy having skipped town, or, as you might say, leave. So it's possible that she did fell for someone else who isn't in Bikini Bottom, if someone else at all. Patrick appears out of nowhere to drop some of his own bars into SpongeBob's song, giving him the benefit of the doubt because they're friends, obviously, but doesn't add any actual interesting story-related thoughts or ideas. But this does show us visually when watching these music videos, when they are music videos, because some of them aren't, but when they are, they have color-coded text in the lyrics that lets you know who's singing, right? Like when it's SpongeBob, it's yellow, but when it's Patrick, it's actually pink. But this is also important for later. The song ends, and now we can move on to the next song, which is so good you could hear it out of a... Dear Magic Concho. This song does not have a music video, at least not one that I could find, which is very unfortunate. However, it does drop a little bit more lore, and it is one of my favorite out of all of them. Another breakup song, SpongeBob starts to ask the Magic Conch Shell what he should do about the breakup he's going through right now. However, it gives vague and unhelpful answers throughout the song. We do get confirmation, however, that Sandy did actually leave town. However, something incredible happens. Sandy herself appears on the song to give her side of the story.
I ain't been back in that town for a while since I packed my dome and went back to Texas.
She explains that she's also reeling from heartbreak as well as SpongeBob, and is telling SpongeBob in the song,
"Hang on there, little square dude. I tried my best, but my best was never good enough for you."
This gives us a little hint as to why the relationship might have failed, which is due to SpongeBob being unsatisfied with what he was receiving in this relationship, and Sandy, while trying her best, was not getting the affirmation she needs from him. And so she leaves SpongeBob for Texas. Sandy then joins SpongeBob in the chorus.
What do I do, dear Magic Concho?
The conch replies with
Nothing.
And then the song ends, leaving the two without saying anything to go off of. I mean, I'm sure they...
I wish I would've known.
The third installation to the story is the song Wish I Would've Known, which is another banger. This is also the last non-music video song, but once again, it is a breakup song with SpongeBob singing, with him blaming himself for not being around more often for Sandy. He recounts how they met.
Met you in the field with a net in my hand and a kelp shake on my breath. Asked you out for a Sunday, maybe a dance, but damn, I should have left you alone. I wish I would have known that.
However, there's something a little off about this song, if you ask me at least. You see, this is the third breakup song in a row, and I get it might, hurt a lot, but, that's a lot to be grieving over someone for, right? And he also incorrectly recounts the first time meeting Sandy, which we see in Season 1, Episode 3. He actually meets her in a reef, I believe it's a coral reef, fighting a snail, and they talk about karate together afterwards. So that's weird. Additionally, he calls up Squidward to do a clarinet solo.
Take it away, Squiddy!
Okay.
Stop!
And then switches to Kelpie G to play the solo instead, because Squidward just sucks balls.
Take it away, Kelpie G!
SpongeBob seems to have found this way to cope by making music, as he takes a more creative approach to his songs and focuses more on that rather than his actual breakup, using it more as a stepping stone to make more music. This is especially apparent when he has the smooth jazz music on this song. However, this makes SpongeBob call out Sandy's name for the first time.
Kicking with Sandy and doing karate will leave me with nobody at home.
Meaning it's the first time we actually get confirmation other than just her voice that this is Sandy Cheeks, which to us is no surprise. But, however, for the people listening at Bikini Bottom, now they know. And now he's the asshole. Because you see, now he's the asshole for not only insulting her supposed new boyfriend that she may or may not have, but just Sandy in general. He's getting arrogant and more willing to make music in the vein of Sandy Cheeks' feelings. However, it's totally chill because it's finally the end of what I'm going to call the breakup arc. Because now we can take the extremely different direction, not only in story, but in music taste, with the introduction of a new character. And here's a hint. He's got a plan. Plankton. Plankton has dropped his own track, and it is also something that is played for people, whether they're just listening to it or I don't know. Either way, people are affected by it. That's the main point you have to get it by, is that people hear it and they have heard it and they're listening to it. But this is the first thing that adds a lot of different lore to the story and really fleshes out the universe a little bit more. Instead of the country / soft rock music that SpongeBob does, we get heavy metal from Plankton. He starts out that stating his usual plans of getting the secret formula from the Krusty Krab, and that he's taking an extremely deadly approach to getting what he wants, seeming as if he's killing people in Bikini Bottom in order to get it. However, it seems his plan is the same as in the SpongeBob movie, which is mind-controlling bucket helmets. In fact, his threats seem to use more intimidation more than an actual change in plan. However, as he keeps going on, he talks about
I'm gathering up my whole family tree,
which was another big plan he had to steal the secret formula, but it's mixed in with the bucket helmets. So this makes this plan different from the movie already, which might make it more effective actually, because he was actually really close to winning that one time. And then we hear a robot voice start talking.
AI or not, we are taking over. Bikini Bottom will sink even lower. The Krusty Krab formula's our last key.
And this is where it gets a little controversial, but I think it's Sandy Cheeks that's in the robot voice. One could say it's Karen, which is fair, but it doesn't sound like Karen. I'll put up a video or an audio clip of Karen just so you know what she sounds like.
Talking will make you feel better.
leave me alone.
That's your problem. You never let anyone in. Plankton the Rock. Plankton the Loner.
And she's off,
Everything
ladies and
yourself.
Another thing is that people think it might sound like the SpongeBob robot that Plankton has at one point. And while I do hear it, kind of, I don't think it sounds enough like SpongeBob. It doesn't have the accent that he usually has. To be fair, it doesn't have Sandy Cheek's accent either, but the voice matches up a lot better than, SpongeBob. However, the thing that makes this hard to tell is the lyrics, because while the robot is talking, the lyrics are still green, as if it's Plankton talking. This could be a sign that not only is Sandy Cheek somehow robotically being controlled, possibly by a bucket helmet, but she's being brainwashed by Plankton to think what she's thinking and saying what she's saying, bending to his will, as you could say. This gives him another upper hand, because how could SpongeBob possibly go up against Sandy, his ex-girlfriend? Terrible, terrible stuff. However, in the end, Plankton loses anyways, and we know this because the last line of the song is some fish guy yelling out,
Just a pineapple is still better.
hinting that SpongeBob still won this battle. However, this doesn't mean that Sandy is quite freed yet. After all, even in his defeat, Plankton still has his Neon Tide. This song is another absolute banger. Plankton starts this song with stating that
I've built machines that'll do more damage than Plan Z, blurring the lines of reality.
this admittedly could be very metaphorical, just trying to sound once again intimidating. However, I think this is more of a literal approach. The Neon Tide refers to an
This neon tide is an army that'll turn Bikini Bottom to a war zone.
The bucket helmet idea has no other significance to him anymore, because now he has the Neon Tide. He taunts them with the lines,
What's real and what's fake will be left up to fate. No love, no truth, no lies, just neon tide.
giving me the idea that his machines are using psychological warfare to manipulate the entire town of Bikini Bottom to bend to his will. How exactly he's doing it, I'm not sure. My theory is that it's something similar to the bucket helmets, but on a much more grandiose scale and a lot more dangerous. He might even be able to read and alter their thoughts based off the line, no love, no truth, no lies, just neon tide. A robotic voice with a non-descripting tone, meaning we can't really identify who it is, states that
AI failed.
and we don't really know what that means until we hear SpongeBob talking about Bikini Bottom and what has happened to it while he's been under.
What happened to my home is not the place I know. This neon is loud, the flower clouds are falling down.
Or this could also be him coming back from being out of town. Maybe he was on tour, which wouldn't make sense though, because he was there during Plan Z, and this takes place immediately after that. Maybe not immediately, but you know what I mean. So either way, he gets woken up from his trance, and he claims that the neon is loud, which you wouldn't call that to an army, would you? You wouldn't call an army loud. You would think more dangerous, heroic, more personality adjectives. Sure, they're robots, but you still wouldn't call them loud. Further implements the theory that it's psychological warfare, possibly through sensory overload, like making really loud sounds to a point where they can't even think anymore, and playing with light and making things visually seem different, like holograms, which we know he has a lot of things he can do with, because he mentions it in Plan Z, which I want you to know about. Or changing what things look like, as if there was just an army, but maybe it's not an army, maybe it's just one robot. Either way, SpongeBob also says,
They got this bucket helmet over eyes.
however, Plankton says that he doesn't need bucket helmets anymore, This could allude more to the fact of my theory that it's like a bucket helmet. The neon tide is like a bucket helmet, but it's a lot more dangerous. Plankton comes back, and as he sings, you can hear Sandy sing behind his voice, hinting that she is still under his control, just not out on the battlefield quite yet.
Smoke rolls in and the light falls out. Don't you be surprised.
The same thing happens with SpongeBob as well, meaning he's probably back under his influence. Plankton's lyrics turn red, which I don't think has much more symbolism than it is just him getting really mad now. But he starts yelling about how
Clap, clap, clap till you can't take it back.
Your time is up. The neon tide is here to go.
I'm not exactly sure what this refers to. It might be alluding to the fact SpongeBob chose to use his gift of music to spread negativity towards Sandy as a way to get higher in music stardom. And now Plankton was going to reveal that lies he told. But why would he blame all of Bikini Bottom for that? Why wouldn't he just go after SpongeBob for that? And also, why would he care? I do know why he would care, which is my other theory that the guy that Sandy left SpongeBob for could have been Plankton. I know it sounds weird because he's a plankton and she's a squirrel, but SpongeBob is a sponge and she's a squirrel. Don't be homophobic out there, folks. All right. But yeah, that's the theory: is that Sandy had left SpongeBob for Plankton, and that is my theory. And as of now, there's very little to bring it up other than you might argue they have more in common in terms of smarts. Plankton might have manipulated her in order to get her to join him. And then, stuff happens. Yeah, and then that's why he might be taking over Bikini Bottom and saying those things, is to get at SpongeBob. Either way, Robot says another line that has no meaning. Something that isn't yet addressed, however, is Plankton's true motives. We get little hints of it, but they don't fully make sense. That's okay, though. We have a prequel song for that, all about how he is...
I'm battling my demons.
Battling My Demons is a song that Boi Whats and Jairus Johnson made together and was posted on the Boi Whats channel. This song is all about the idea of battling your inner demons. And it's basically it. There's not really any much else to it. The song doesn't have a narrator guy, which makes me think it's a more personal, internal song that Plankton sings to himself. Plankton describes how his continuous loss of getting the secret formula impacted his mental health and self-esteem. He talks about in a, poetic language about how he's going to let it all burst out when he gets the chance and take over Bikini Bottom. He states that he is going to...
But until then, I won't hold my breath again. Bikini Bottom's wearing thin, I'm going in.
When SpongeBob starts to go off to start his music career, becomes preoccupied with that, Plankton sees his chance and takes it to attack Bikini Bottom with Plan Z. He actually doesn't specify what he's going to attack with. I'm just assuming it's Plan Z. It could also be Neon Tide, because that would also make sense in this scenario. Either way, that's how we kind of got to where we are in the present day. Either way, the way he absolutely dominated Bikini Bottom must sure have him feeling like an
anti-hero!
Funeral of an Anti-Hero is probably one of, if not the best song he's made so far. However, it doesn't have a whole lot of lore to it because it's more of an internal song, number one, which is fine. But it's also more Plankton either gaslighting himself or just complaining, or I don't know. He's seeing himself as an anti-hero, though, after conquering Bikini Bottom, having been an underdog and saving everybody from themselves. He's delusional, obviously, but he believes he's being worshipped but also hated by everybody. But he wants to be in that position, which is also very strange. There isn't much else to say in the song, like I said, but you should totally listen to it because it's one of my favorites. However, in this next installation, we finally leave the Plankton takeover arc and enter the rebellion arc with
This town ain't big enough for the both of us.
the both us is the last song so far where we hear Sandy. That's right, Sandy is back. And the song has a narrator again, meaning Bikini Bottom hears this song, finally, again. Also, it's the only song that's actually animated, not AI animated with the funky little backgrounds you've been saying, actually 2D animated. Now, I didn't know that until I was writing this script. Oopsie poopsies. Anyway, Sandy is back, baby, and she glitches out to what looks like a robot version of her and then back, which signifies that she was under Plankton's control, probably through technology in some way, whether it's like she is just a robot now or frickin' I don't know. That Plankton does robots, she goes to a robot, whoa, he did her. not like that. However, she's broken from Plankton's control and is back to living on her own terms. But she's gonna live fighting to win back Bikini Bottom. We see that Plankton is still using bucket helmets too, which either makes him a fucking liar or he used an extra precaution for the neon tide in case they were to fail like it did on SpongeBob that one time. Sandy seems to have formed a rebellion and is mourning over the death of her friends, thinking that they are dead. She says, now, this could be SpongeBob asking for his strength after death, even though he's not dead. Or this could be Plankton referring to have to hit her as hard as he can. Like in a challenging, intimidating way, you know what I mean? But it's not completely certain who she's referring to. Yet. Plankton, who is now fierce about this new development in Sandy, is trying to get her to join back into the neon tide using the neon tide. We also see my theory about what the neon tide is true, which is sick. We see the bucket helmet people also flash to reveal they're robots. So I guess he doesn't lie. He just doesn't know how to design heads in robots. Plankton starts singing along to Sandy's lyrics. However, talking about digging another grave for those he couldn't save. This might hint that he has empathy for the people he had to kill to get to where he is now, but also unclear. He also refers to his own love, which strengthens the idea that he's probably referring to Sandy and Sandy is referring to him. This also makes me think that Sandy could have lied to SpongeBob about going to Texas because Plankton does not live in Texas. He lives like across the street from where freaking SpongeBob works. So, however, Plankton uses this as an opportunity to take over Sandy and in turn Bikini Bottom all the way back in Plan Z. Sandy calls out to the resistance that is Bikini Bottom and rallies them to her cause. As she does so, Plankton executes Plan Z, which refers to his robot army from Plan Z. We see his army take apart Sandy's robot, and Sandy reveals her water suit is another robot too, and she flies up to continue the fight and the video ends. It is my belief and current theory that Sandy died fighting in that battle. One, because we don't see her ever again, but she frees everyone from the neon tide. When with the neon tide destroyed, Plankton is left powerless and he flees and goes back into hiding. This leaves the rest of Bikini Bottom, including SpongeBob and his friends, to fix Bikini Bottom. You could even say they're back at SpongeBob is back to singing his good old country music, where he and his gang reminisce over all the terrible things that have happened and how they miss the past before Plankton took over. In the sadness of the aftermath of Plankton, however, they celebrate that at least they're still alive and that they work on rebuilding Bikini Bottom. We also get cameos for a bit featuring Mr. Krabs, Patrick, and Squidward. However, in the celebration, we find out that Plankton is actually still alive. He questions about how have I become the enemy when I gave my life to give you peace. We hear Sandy repeat the line about giving her life, symbolizing how she's definitely dead and never coming back. Plankton decides to strike back onto Bikini Bottom. However, his only plan is to hit them fast before they can rebuild too much. He explains how he went, which more symbolizes a fact of he's gone through a stage of development in his life and he's evolved and gotten better. However, even then, he loses the battle pretty quickly, as he loses nearly immediately. Also, we get a Gary solo. They celebrate another victory over Plankton, and thus ends the rebellion arc because it wasn't that long. However, Plankton will return, even if he does have to. This song does not have a narrator, so it might be an internal song, but I could also see it being not internal based off of the music video. I don't know what Boi Whats been doing with his new AI visualization thing, but it's a lot better now, as it's a lot easier to tell what you're looking at. And things are actually moving. However, this arc is also unknown because this is the latest song that's been released. However, we've learned that Plankton is setting his sights away from Bikini Bottom, talking about how they will fail without him and how ungrateful they are for what he's done for them. So he takes the next logical step. He leaves the ocean. He has rejected Bikini Bottom in the ocean, setting his sights on the human world, with a new army of humanoid eye creatures which seem more technologically advanced, almost alien-like. And they also take on the symbolism of a secret government or a conspiracy government or something that goes on in the background, almost like a cult. He has accepted his role as the enemy, and he begins his war against humans and his takeover of their society. This is the latest that I have for lore, and as to what's coming next, I can't even think about it, because I have no idea what it could be. This is a whole new direction that I've never seen coming. But all I know is Boi Whats is very creative for coming up with this story. Because while on paper it might be pretty simple, he's been relaying this story through songs, music videos, and just... it's very impressive and it's very good. I would recommend listening to all of these songs many times over. Yeah, that's all I got.